What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Fit to Fat to Fit Experience podcast. I'm your host, Drew Manning.
And I'm your co-host, Lynn Manning.
Thank you guys so much for joining us today on the podcast. Today we have an awesome episode with Shawn Stevenson, who is our friend. But really quick, Shawn Stevenson is a best-selling author and creator of The Model Health Show, which has been #1 on iTunes and health and fitness before. Probably one of my very first health and fitness podcasts that I started listening to, which kind of made me interested in starting my own podcast. So I have Shawn to thank for that. But Shawn has a background in biology and kinesiology and has given a TED Talk as well, and is very well known in the health and fitness industry as a great public speaker, and he has the best voice in the podcast industry.
He really does. I mean, you can listen to him for hours. He is literally the only podcast that I listen to.
We were honored to finally have Shawn on the show. Now, I kind of talk about this in the episode, but we've tried so many times to have Shawn on, but we've had audio issues and we've had scheduling issues, but finally we were able to get a solid recording in this time with Shawn. So
I was going to say, and it's such a great episode, you guys. I love the stuff that we dig in this episode because it's unlike any of the episodes that we've done before. I love that we dig in and kind of talk about, basically the new age of nutrition, of knowing that nutrition plays a key component in our health and can, obviously turn the tables for things like disease. And Shawn talks about his own personal journey through that, which was inspiring.
Yeah, so this episode really dives into the science behind things. We really don't do that a whole lot, but I think it's good to do that so people can understand that there is science backing up some of these claims of these things that we're talking about as far as nutrition goes. Now, another thing we talk about is Shawn has experimented with keto diet and like being a vegan and a raw food diet, and he's had experience doing all these things. So I asked him which diet does he follow now? So stay tuned to listen to that. But first, today's show is sponsored by MRM.
Yeah, MRM is an amazing company, MRM USA. We'll go ahead and put their website in the show notes for you guys. This is a really great company. We met at an expo. We were really impressed. Speaking of science, the science behind their products, the quality behind their products. And it's one of my favorite proteins. So I use their protein every day. Actually, I mix it in with my granola and berries. I do that a lot for my kids too, to add some protein if I'm going to be giving them granola. They have other great products as well. You can go to their website to search and see all the different products that they offer. And again, go to the show notes to directly go to their site.
Exactly. We'll have their info in the show notes, you guys. And I love their whey protein. It's probably one of the cleanest whey proteins, but one of the best tasting. They don't use any sucralose, which is great and is very rare in the protein industry. So it tastes amazing. So check them out, you guys. Our second sponsor is dollarworkoutclub.com. Now, dollarworkoutclub.com is basically an online platform where you get access to 5 new at-home workout videos, 5 new healthy recipe videos, and 5 motivational videos every single week. And all you pay is just $1 to have access to all those 15 videos of amazing, great, high-quality content that's going to help you get in shape and lose fat.
Yeah, and there's no contract, no hidden fees. You can literally try it out for a couple weeks, and if it doesn't fit, then you can cancel at any time. And of course, we put tons of time and effort into making sure that anyone at any fitness level can participate.
Go to dollarworkoutclub.com to check that out. But now let's get into today's episode with Shawn. All right, Shawn Stevenson, thank you so much for joining us here today on the Fit to Fat to Fit Experience podcast. Now, for those of you guys listening, this is our 81st try to get Shawn on the show. Am I right, Shawn? Seriously, we've tried so many times. We've had audio issues. We've had scheduling issues. We've had technical difficulties. We've had our laptop getting water on it. So let's hope that today goes smoothly and we have an awesome interview with Shawn. But first of all, Shawn, thank you so much for joining us.
And it's my pleasure to be here. You're one of my favorite people. And what I like to say is that when stuff has like a struggle that's associated with it, it usually turns out being something really epic. So let's just roll with that.
Yeah,
I like that, man. I like that. Okay, yeah. So let me start things off first and foremost. First, let me let everybody know, as you listen to this episode, you're going to realize that Shawn Stevenson has the most epic podcast voice in the industry. By far, bar none. Shawn has, hands down, the best voice. Now, on top of that, if you go to his Instagram feed and watch his posts from today, November 24th, today is, you will actually see him sing. And then he puts us all to even more shame by having a beautiful singing voice. So what's up with that, Shawn?
Yeah, what's up with you being so multi-talented? Like, stop. Just quit it.
I was just hoping I wouldn't be one of those people on Instagram that's trying to live out their American Idol dreams, first of all, but it came attached with a post, and it's something that I've always done and my family does. Like in the house, like we make our own music, we're always singing or just even coming up with weird songs that are funny, and we'll break out and dance and have dance offs randomly. And I think it's really something valuable that we all have access to at any time, And so one of the things it does is it increase your endorphins, those feel good kind of neurotransmitter soup, you get stirring up in your body, kind of like what you get with the runner's high, reduces cortisol. And if you sing with other people, then there's research showing that it increases your oxytocin, which is like known as the quote, cuddle hormone, right? And it helps with that transitions into better sleep, less stress. It's so many of these tiny things that I want to enlighten people to and be as transparent as possible, because nobody wants to put themselves out there singing or dancing or doing anything that would kind of be reserved for, like, if the lights are really low and you've had a lot of drinks, And so, but we all do this stuff, Yeah.
This is why I enjoy karaoke so much. But like you said, it's normally under different circumstances.
Exactly. But so you're saying even if you suck at singing, this will help with oxytocin and reduce cortisol levels, things like that. You don't have to have a good voice like you. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely. And this is, it's so funny because people that generally are considered to have the worst voices are the ones who love to sing the most.
Right? Yeah,
so
that's
true.
Like me. Yeah.
I'm trying to give people permission to sing your heart out. It's all right if the world hears it. It's all right if, you don't have to have a great voice. Just enjoy yourself. Sing and, kind of tap into that pathway. And by the way, so here's something interesting I didn't post, but historically, this is one of the ways that we communicated and shared and moved traditions down the line and stories and lessons was through song, and also through stories. This is why podcasting is so powerful of a medium, because we're hardwired to learn through our auditory senses. We're in like the video age, but it's something powerful when your mind can actually create the picture that is associated with the words and with the voice. Because right now, people are having a certain association with me if they've never even seen me before, and it's very powerful because you're creating your own entity versus you kind of commanding it on the senses with other stuff. But I love, the TV stuff, like that's great. There's a really great medium as well, but we can't negate the power of listening to somebody.
Yeah, and then, so that's cool, man. I appreciate you kind of expanding on that. And if you do get a call from American Idol or The Voice, let us know, please. We'll have everyone texting in your number to vote for you. So keep us posted on that.
The first time I heard Drew sing, we were in a church, and I literally turned to him and I'm like, "Stop it!" And he like looked at me weird and he kept singing. And I know this is a thing, and I was like, "Seriously, stop it!" And he's like, "What?" I'm like, "Stop goofing off," because I thought he was joking. Like I thought he was purposely singing off key to be like funny and obnoxious, and we were in a church. So I was like, "Hey, seriously." And he looked at me, he's like, and then he like stone cold straight face, he's like, "I don't get it, stop what?" And then I realized that he just couldn't sing on key, and I was like, "Oh, snap."
Yeah,
like,
see, she's messing with my oxytocin. She was messing with my oxytocin levels.
Carry on.
But anyways,
we're oxytocin blocking.
Let me be, woman. Okay,
just kidding. I've been told I'm a blocker, so.
But I don't want to turn this into a singing episode. But I thought it was funny and cool, and I love how everything you do, Shawn, has to do with some kind of scientific evidence of something that's beneficial to us. So I think that's really cool. So I want to start off this interview with a little bit of your background, right? You did a recent episode on your podcast, which was amazing, by the way, of your background story and how you have healed yourself. And we brought people on the podcast as well that have had remarkable stories of how they've healed themselves through nutrition. Now, your average person out there thinks a lot of this stuff is voodoo, kind of hippie stuff out there. We are geared to believe in modern medicine, and you go to your doctor when you're sick, and that's how you do it, and you listen to what they say. But I want people to really understand that there's power in nutrition, and there's power in having the knowledge of what nutrition can do, and you are a perfect example of that. So let me ask you straight up, do you believe that you can heal yourself, now depending on the situation and the disease, but for the most part, do you feel like you can heal yourself with nutrition?
I'm coming from this really scientifically sound perspective when I talk about this stuff, even to kind of start the show off and talking about singing and health related to that. It's kind of on the fringe, even for me. I'm a very analytical human being. And so that's kind of even what I did. I went to justify my reasoning for enjoying this process by finding studies that are associated with the benefits of singing. But another thing that I do is I look for the negative things as well. So if there's any problem with somebody saying that this new diet works or certain nutrients work, what can go wrong? And a lot of people don't do that other side of things because we all want to justify what we believe in. So I want to say that first. And the short answer is pretty much everything you can think of can be improved by improvements in your nutrient profile. So what you're bringing into your body is literally the building blocks for every single cell in your body, which you have upwards of 100 trillion cells that make you up, right? And so the essential fatty acids, for example, if you're deficient in those things, your cell membranes, which is literally like the brain of the cell, we used to think that the nucleus of the cell, even when I went to school, even what's taught in school today, but it's gradually changing, that the nucleus is the brain of the cell. But because that's where the DNA is housed. But in actuality, there's something called enucleation, where you can literally remove, and they do this every day. This is happening all around the world in science labs. Enucleation, you remove the nucleus from the cell, and the cell still stays alive. And all of your cells in your body do essentially what you do as a whole person. They all eat, they poop, they reproduce. Your cells do everything that you do. And so if you remove your brain, you're dead. You're expired. There is no more you. So when you take the brain out of the cell should die, but it can live for another 6 months. And so what they've discovered is that the membrane of the cell is really how the cell is communicating and doing a lot of its functions. And so with that as a solid understanding, I had this really interesting opportunity to kind of learn this stuff firsthand in a way that I didn't really want to. When I went to school, I went pre-med initially, but just for literally like maybe 2 months. But I felt so indoctrinated by the system. I just thought that I should be a doctor because it was something that you should do. Like I wasn't passionate about science. I didn't even like science. And then hearing from the upperclassmen who were just infatuated with disease. And that's what's really taught in traditional university settings is really a focus on disease and symptom treatment, right? Pharmacology. So if a patient is experiencing these symptoms, advise these particular things, but advise this medication as well. And so I was really kind of disenchanted by that. And so I shifted over and I got into like marketing or something. And I did that based on something I saw on TV as well. I remember there was a movie with Eddie Murphy, Boomerang.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you remember that movie? Strong J.
Yeah.
But I was like, oh, that's a cool job. I'll do that. So that's what I shifted over. But when I was 20 years old, I got diagnosed with something called degenerative bone and degenerative disc disease. And so basically, my spine was just deteriorating rapidly, and I was experiencing a tremendous amount of pain as a result.
But at that point, what did your doctor tell you your hope was, and what did he tell you that you had to do at that point in time? Like, what were your options based on what your doctor said?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the first physician that I saw, well, this was actually, let me step back just really quickly.
Okay.
I saw a physician when I was 15 years old because I was at track practice and I was a scholar athlete. I ran a 4.540 when I was 15 and I was doing a 200-meter time trial. And this is just me and the coach on the track. And when I was coming off the curve under the straightaway, my hip broke. So I literally broke the iliac crest, the top of my hip just cracked and broke off. And that physician just was like, this is weird, and just standard of care, medication, stay off the leg. And, he gave me like a fancy little whirlpool to take home and ultrasound, but nobody stopped to ask, what is the root cause of this? There was no trauma. How did the kid break his hip? And so this physician gave me this kind of like, finally somebody told me what was wrong with me. But he told me very just outright. And I still don't know to this day, guys. I might have told you this before, but I asked him, does this have anything to do with what I'm eating? And he looked at me like, he cocked his head and looked at me like, and he like squinted his eyes and like looked at me like, what's wrong with, no, this has nothing to do with what you're eating. And he said, this has nothing to do with what you're eating. But then he wrote me a prescription to eat some drugs.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Okay.
So it
Yeah.
has nothing to do with what you're putting in your mouth, but go ahead and put these pills in your mouth anyways. And so that was the level of the paradigm that I was dealing with at the time. And I believed him. And we've talked about this before. This is called the Nocebo Effect. And this is basically the opposite of a placebo effect, where you're getting some kind of a positive result or positive function in your body by taking something that you believe is a medication or something positive. But I mean, the symptoms might not be positive though. So there's studies showing that people taking a placebo, which is not a real drug, it's just a sugar pill, who think that they're taking chemotherapy medication, their hair falls out. And they begin to express the nausea and all these other symptoms of somebody who's actually taking the chemotherapy drug. And this stuff is well documented. You know, I'd encourage people to check out Dr. Lissa Rankin's book, Mind Over Medicine. A lot of the research is documented in that book. It's kind of like housed in there, but you can just go to Dr. Google and find studies to affirm this stuff. But bottom line, placebos are very powerful. A nocebo effect is when you tell somebody something negative, you give them a negative injunction, and then they believe that thing. And a lot of physicians, well-meaning physicians who got into the business to help people, are giving nocebo effects by telling people, you know, you've got 2 weeks to live, you know, or this is incurable. Once you tell somebody that, they believe it wholeheartedly, and every cell in their body is going to be working to that end. I've literally seen people, I've seen this happen firsthand. Somebody had a headache for a couple of days. She goes into the hospital, into the ER, because, you know, it's getting pretty bad. And she walked in on her own 2 feet, and she's told that she has cancer that's spread throughout her body, and she has 2 weeks to live. Within hours, she's wheelchair bound. Okay, just completely broken down. She walked into the hospital, now she's wheelchair bound, just crumbling because she was told that she's about to die. You know, and that's the power of the human mind. So if we, I definitely want to talk about how nutrition plays a role in this, but do you got any questions thus far?
Oh man.
Oh no, I'm just absorbing it all.
We're just absorbing every little word you're saying, and it's so powerful. First of all, before we get into the nutrition part, it's so powerful what you're saying, the nocebo, the placebo effect, what our minds can do if we believe something in a negative way, but also in a positive way too. Yeah. And I'm sure you'll probably touch on that a little bit later.
And I've seen people do that the same way. You know, I know people hate when I talk about this. I actually talked about this before and had somebody private message me that was pretty upset. And I understand that if somebody's listening to this, you may disagree with this. And I'm not saying it to harm anyone in any way, saying that they shouldn't work with a doctor or they shouldn't have chemotherapy. But I've known people that have been told, you know, you're going to die, you have cancer. And they're like, no, I'm not. I'm going to heal myself. I'm going to take, homeopathic medicine, and I'm going to go to a healer, and I'm going to eat healthy, and I'm going to heal myself. And they do. And I've seen it done, even though I know a lot of times people think that sounds crazy, but I do, just like you're talking about, I do completely agree that our mind is so much more powerful than we believe.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry, Shawn, but let's talk about the nutrition part of this and get into the benefits of that and what you believe as a professional, what you've seen as well with your own experience.
Sure. Okay, so I go on to see another couple of physicians, and they give me the same story. You know, this is incurable. There's nothing you could do. And I was dealing with an extreme amount of pain, this sciatic pain. And on a scale of 1 to 10, just my everyday kind of moving around pain was maybe like a 4 or 5.
Okay.
But when I would go from the sitting position or laying down to standing up, I'd get a 12. Like, there's probably the best explanation would be getting stuck with the rod that they use for animals, you know, like giving you an electric jolt or getting hit with a taser, and it would just shoot down my leg every single time I would stand up. So I literally got into a place where I was afraid to stand up. And by being docile, sitting, because of being told that, you know, bed rest, be careful, wear a back brace, I just became more and more overweight, more and more disabled, really, you know. And so at this point, I'm fluffy Shawn. And So Sean Fluffy Combs. Um, my last name's Stevenson though, but
Yeah.
so I'm very, very fluffy, puffy, inflamed, unhealthy, eating a standard college diet. And about 2.5 years after this diagnosis is when things finally changed. And this was really incited by making the very strong decision to get well. And that's another big piece that we need to talk about here, is that most people don't do that. They don't make the decision to actually get well or to do a thing. It's more like, well, I hope this happens, or I wish it would happen, or I'll try.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like that Yoda thing, he's like, there is no try. There's only you do or you don't, or however he says it. There is no try. Whatever.
There you go. That was a little bit closer. That was a little bit closer to the real thing.
And so what I did was really simple. After making the decision to get well, I put a plan together. And that plan entailed 3 major things. 1 was right nutrition, 2 was movement, and the third one was real rest and recovery to heal from all the stuff I was about to do. So number 1, the nutrition. I knew that what I was eating sucked. Like, I'm eating like hotcakes and sausage and pizza and sandwiches and top ramen noodles, like every day. That's what I'm eating, and barely drinking even a glass of water. And so the disc in your back, actually, they're non-vascular. So that means nutrition, blood flow, hydration doesn't get there easily. And those discs are like what gives, it's not exactly this, but they're kind of like shock absorbers. And so they're just like ridiculously dehydrated already, and water doesn't even get there directly. So what I had to do was super hydrate my system. Once I studied and found like, hey, wait a minute, these discs need to be hydrated. So I went from drinking maybe 8 ounces of water a day, no kidding, unless I was like, because you know what usually happens? Right.
Wait, were you drinking soda? Is that why?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I used to do that.
Hawaiian Punch.
Hawaiian Punch. Oh, okay. I was going to ask if you
that's
drink
so
Mountain Dew, but Hawaiian Punch is good, man. Very syrupy and very sugary. Mm-hmm. Anyways, sorry, go ahead.
No, that was my stuff, man. And shout out to Hawaii. But
Aloha.
Hawaiian Punch doesn't come from Hawaii at all.
Not at all, man.
It doesn't even come from juice.
All,
I mean, it tastes good, but it's not even juice. But yeah.
Hey. Oh, man, it says it right on the bottle. It's like 0% juice. Well, what is it?
Don't worry about it.
Candy to make it? How do they do it? So anyways, so yeah, I'm hydrating through those means, which are really just making me more dehydrated. And what the average person does, guys, and we forget this because we're in this field, is that when we finally do get thirsty, we'll just drink like a gallon of water at one time when somebody actually finally gets thirsty. Like that signal is hard enough and strong enough from the body. Other than that, they're just going by. You're not thinking about drinking water. And so I started to super hydrate my system, which was drinking maybe 2 liters of water a day. So going from 8 ounces to 2 liters. And the nutrition was huge. So I studied and found out, and this is a huge takeaway for everybody. Your body literally needs the raw materials in order to rebuild yourself. Okay, so your body literally needs the raw materials in order to, it's kind of like your body's a house. If you're gonna build a strong house that can really withstand weather and withstand conditions or people trying to knock it down, you can't make your house out of like SpaghettiOs and bubble gum. You know what I'm saying? Like, you've got to make it out of real sustainable materials. And so I studied and found that my bones were made of things that I had never even thought about or contemplated before. Automatically, when we think of bones, what do you guys think of?
Milk, right?
Which is what? What's in there?
Oh, calcium.
You got it. So that's the first.
Well, that's the way we've been taught, right? Calcium, milk helps bones. Yeah, that's what we've been taught.
Milk does a body good, yada, yada, yada. And so the reality was your bones are actually, there's a process called biological transmutation. And this is where other nutrients or compounds get converted into other things. And so magnesium, silica, and a couple of other things, but those are 2 major compounds, minerals, trace minerals that get converted and become calcium in your body. Calcium, like drinking calcium from milk, for example, it's a biological end product. You want your body to be able to build stuff, just like melatonin is a hormone that really creates great sleep for your body, but it's an end product. Your body uses serotonin, which eventually gets converted to melatonin, which the root of even serotonin is L-tryptophan, right? So it's like a process your body does. It knows how to do this. It's been doing it for eons to build your body. But like, then we'll just take a supplement. Like, but my bones are made of calcium. Give me some calcium supplements. Clinically, this is the crazy part, guys. And just, again, anybody, if you want to double check me on any of this stuff, just go to Dr. Google. Clinically proven, people who take calcium supplements have over a 30% greater risk of heart disease. No, I'm sorry, not heart disease, heart attack and stroke.
What?
We need to tweet. That sounds like a tweetable
serious?
Quote right there. We need to tweet that.
Does it?
Yes.
So they have an increased risk of heart attack. Are their bones stronger?
And here's the thing.
Do they even get the benefit of that?
It's negligible. It's almost nothing for people who take
crazy.
calcium supplements. As a matter of fact, there are a couple studies done with people taking milk showing that their bone density is actually worse.
Oh my gosh.
Because with milk, that's a whole different ball game. Like, I'm not saying that milk is bad, especially if you get it from a grass-fed cows, reputable source. It's not high heat treated. There could be some good stuff there in the milk, but overall, commercial milks, we're talking, this is a hormonal soup, right? This is like every compound you could think of to supply a baby cow.
Yeah.
To get, shout out to Eddie Murphy and Boomerang, a baby cow, to get as big as possible, right?
Yeah.
And so you're just consuming it. And by the way, it's not just from one cow if you're getting commercial milk. It's put in a giant vat from potentially, hundreds of cows.
Yeah.
So like your hormones are just going to go crazy. Wonder why we're breaking out. Our skin is breaking out. You get digestive distress and don't even realize it's because of that. And so, that stuff clinically shown, not much benefit. So I needed stuff that was going to build my bones. So magnesium was huge. Silica was huge. Vitamin C was another compound. And again, I can go and start just guzzling supplements, but that's taking a pharmacological approach, like an allopathic medicine approach where I'm taking a drug or now it's a supplement instead to treat a symptom.
Okay.
What I needed to do was find the foods that they were found in great density. So magnesium, the big thing that the most abundant source of magnesium you're going to find is in green leafy vegetables. And funny thing was, I hated green leafy vegetables.
So what did you do? What did you do?
It takes a while for your taste buds to change, people.
Yes, that's the thing. There's certain things you can do to help facilitate that. One of those is like juicing, juicing the vegetables, making green smoothies, things like that, finding strategic ways to sneak that stuff in.
Is that what you did? What did you do?
I did, yeah. But the first thing I did was I just went hard on the vegetables that I did eat. So I'd eat like an absurd amount of broccoli. Like I liked broccoli. I didn't like kale and lettuce and chard, any of that stuff yet, celery. Okay. So I was going crazy on broccoli and green beans, so that's what I was doing. I was making like at least half my plate, those type of vegetables. Okay. Also, I upgraded the source of the food. This is huge for everybody listening. This is something simple. Instead of going to the Golden Arches, we'll just use the nickname to get a burger and fries and a shake. I would make my own. And I started shopping at Whole Foods. And this is like, they literally had just opened here in the Midwest where I live. And so I was shopping there. It was empty. The stores were empty. It was like 3 people in the store. And so I was buying like grass-fed beef, getting oven organic fries, and then vegetable instead of whatever else I would have gotten. And just drinking an absurd amount of water, when I wasn't eating food. And so just those small changes alone, I lost 28 pounds in 30 days. Whoa. I'm sorry, in 6 weeks.
Okay.
28 pounds in 6 weeks.
That's
awesome. Results not typical, but that's
the
thing. It's like, it's possible. It really depends on where you are and what your body needs to do. I wasn't somebody who was prone to being overweight. So that weight just flew right off of me once I started doing things that my body really enjoyed. So that was one of the big pieces, was I upgraded the source and quality of my nutrition and started targeting specific things I knew my body needed to get well through food. And so that was piece one. The next piece was exercise, which we could talk about if you want as well.
Let's jump into that. What did you do because that's the thing, is your doctor said, hey, take it easy. No, he probably said don't exercise because that'll further increase your risk of injury, right? So what did you do for exercise at that point?
Yes, man, this was so huge. this is getting to a place where we have to, again, have that self-ownership, because, man, our physicians are some of the, like, literally the smartest people in the world.
Yeah.
But emergency medicine is incredible, but treating chronic illness, like, it's confirmed, we suck at it. Like, our medical establishment sucks at it. Like, there is no cure for cancer. There is no cure for heart disease. There is no cure for diabetes. But people reverse this stuff every day. At my clinic, we had around a 88 or 89% reversal rate for type 2 diabetes. It's so easy. It's crazy, and this is the thing. A couple years ago, I couldn't have even talked about that, but now today it's becoming common knowledge that you can manage or even totally reverse type 2 diabetes by changing your lifestyle, because what it is really a disease of lifestyle and overconsumption, in particular of sugar and carbohydrates. So just understanding this stuff, listening to my physician, it was hard, man. It's even hard to talk about it because they wanted to help me, but telling a person, a 20-year-old kid in 21, 22 through this process to not do anything is just insane, and here's a huge takeaway is that your body literally requires movement in order to heal itself. If you put your arm into a cast in order to heal that bone, the bone can heal, but the muscles are going to atrophy. Everything around it is going to start to die.
Yeah.
Right. And it's going to create a greater likelihood for a future problem. So we want to get the arm healed and the cast off as soon as humanly possible. So I basically put a cast on my entire body by not moving for 2 years. And so I started off where I could. And this is what I encourage people to do. If you've got like a serious back injury or you've torn, your pectoral muscle or something, don't go to the gym and start doing push-ups tomorrow. Like, give your body time for the initial inflammation to go down, but then you need to do something because you need to encourage your body to do what it already knows how to do, which is to heal itself. The most powerful medicine for this is walking. Walking is a medicine. There's so many benefits we could do a whole show just talking about that in and of itself. But so that's where I started. Actually, I started off on a stationary bike because walking was even hard. So after about a week on a stationary bike, I got off of that and I started walking. Then I started jogging a little bit, a week or two later. Then I started picking up the weights a little bit. And before you know it, again, it was that 28-pound change in that 6-week period, which even getting that extra weight off my spine made it feel better. And the pain was gone.
Yeah.
That's the thing that I was experiencing every day that I was in fear of was gone. And I don't even know exactly when it was gone. It might have been in week 3 or week 6. I don't know. But I remember. But after 6 weeks is when I realized, like, hey, I don't hurt anymore.
Quick.
That is cool, man. So what did your doctor say when you went to follow up with him? Was it 6 weeks later? Was it 2 months later? Like, what did your doctor say?
So I went back to the doctor about 9 months later.
Okay.
And at this point, there was like, it was like a transformer, it was like a complete metamorphosis, a complete change, transformation in everything about me. At that point, probably we'll say between 6 and 8 weeks after this process, I was still in school at the time. So people at my university were coming up to me and asking me, like, what did you do? Like, because I didn't look like a person who lost weight. Like, I looked like somebody who was radiantly healthy, And so I remember walking out of my classroom. It was my, I think it was international negotiations class or something random and crazy. And the teacher stopped me and he was like, what? Hey, how you doing? And he kind of like put a question mark on that seriously, like, what's wrong with you? Like, how did this happen? He approached me like it was an accident that I looked so healthy. Yeah. And eventually he asked me for help. And so I started working with him. So I started training a lot of professors, a lot of the faculty, students, cool. And, became a strength and conditioning coach and just shifted my focus in college into studying biology, kinesiology, and all that good stuff. But 9 months later, so this is already going on. That stuff is going on. My health is just through the roof. I feel I didn't just get my life back. I got a better life. And I'm sitting there and I went to the doctor. It was really affirmation. I didn't even need it, but just my man brain wanted to see, So I got a scan done and he put it up for me to see. And so I had 2 herniated discs as well. When I first went to the physician, both of those discs had retracted and it looked like I'd never had a herniation. And the disc in my back had grown, basically. There's some of their, I'll just put it like this. The juiciness was back in my spinal disc in my back. And so he was just standing there with his hand on his chin for like, it seemed like an eternity, but it was really like maybe 20 seconds. And he was just like, he turned around, he's like, hey buddy, whatever you're doing, keep it up.
Yeah.
And I was just like, and in my mind, I was just like, yep, I will. And that's when I fired him, and this is the last time.
You're like, well, I don't need you anymore.
Yeah. And so, that's what happened when I went back to get the scan.
Cool, man. That's so powerful, I think, for a lot of people to hear, because they need to believe it, that they can change their circumstances if they choose to do so, right? And those simple steps that you mentioned before, like just starting out by walking, starting out by eating the vegetables that you can already, throw down, just start increasing the portion sizes of those, and then start, replacing the stuff that you love, like burgers and fries from, fast food joints, to, hey, make your own at home with healthier ingredients. And those things are really, really simple, I think, for everybody just to get started, in the right direction. And my hope is that people can take away from this that if they believe and they actually start making these simple changes, they can see some miracles happen in their lives. Why not you, right? I mean, it happens to you, a bunch of other people that change their nutrition, and they've seen a lot of great things happen. Now, I kind of wanted to get into something else, Shawn, with you really quick, and I'll turn some time over to Lynn because she's falling asleep here. But anyways, I'm just kidding. She's not.
He's making stuff up. No,
she's
I'm
not.
like enthralled by what he said, and actually, I'm already going to cut you off. I'm allowed to do that.
Okay, hold on a second, really quick.
I
got those out there. Hold on.
No, because you're getting off the subject. I just wanted to say, tell me if you agree here. Because when I'm listening to this, I'm thinking about that doctor, and I'm thinking about the advice he gave, and I'm thinking, of course, how wrong it was. And it's not to say that doctors are wrong or that they're doing anything bad. It's in my perception, a lot of it is from talking to doctors that I've even had friends say to me that practice medicine, we're just not taught that. We're not like they don't They don't go through a process. Yeah, they go through years of medical training, but they don't go through years of training to do with like nutrition and what, like you're talking about, the impact that food can have on our body. So it's really not that he was, trying to steer you wrong. He literally didn't know. And do you feel like doctors are finally going? Do you feel like where things are at now, are doctors maybe given more of that information? Do you feel like they're coming a little bit of ways in that, in knowing about nutrition more so than they did like maybe a decade ago? Or do you think things are kind of consistently the same? Like you talked about, they're basically just trained on symptoms and then what medications to apply to fix the problem.
Right. Yeah. Well, you got to be hiding under a rock if you're not seeing like the phenomenon like Dr. Oz is making. And not saying that I agree with everything that he does or teaches, but I think he's just an absolutely groundbreaking human being by getting the conversation going with the mainstream public. And if the mainstream public is listening, they're going to ask their doctors about it. And of course, initially, classically trained physicians are going to brush off a lot of these things, like goji berries, pish posh, and I'm not saying that, doctors are blatantly arrogant like that, but there are some that are like that. The vast majority of doctors just want to help their patients. Yeah. They just want to see them win. But here's a big secret. And I've had the abundant honor of working with so many physicians over the years and having a really she's a groundbreaking human being, right? Physician who wrote the foreword for my book, Dr. Sarah Gottfried, who wrote The Hormone Cure. And having these conversations and also working at a university, training pre-med students and many, many nurses over the years. Oh my goodness. I had this huge sample size to really see that our healthcare professionals are not treated very well, and they're going to work to help people, but the system is not set up in a way that keeps them healthy. And so a lot of people don't realize that in some regions, physicians actually live 10 years, up to 10 years less. Their lifespan is 10 years shorter than their patients. And in our society, again, yeah, it's crazy that our healthcare providers and healthcare practitioners aren't treated very well. And the system is set up that way because it's like a constant farming of people coming in the door that they don't even have the time to spend with them. A lot of times with your primary physician, you're with them like 10 minutes, and that's not enough time to fully assess what's going on with you and to find out about your lifestyle, to find out if you're not sleeping well, to find out if you're stressed about your job, to find out if you just lost a loved one and you're in a state of depression or whatever the case might be. They're not getting that information. It's tap on the knee, check in the ear kind of thing, that's very foundational. But at the same time, we've got a lot of complexity today that need to be assessed. And what I'm really hoping to kind of pioneer is a greater attention and care put towards our healthcare professionals so that they can feel better and be able to show up better for everybody else. And what I like to tell people is that, these are some of the smartest people in the world, but if you teach a smart person the wrong thing, they become world class at teaching the wrong thing or doing the wrong thing. So I'll say that again. If you teach a smart person the wrong thing, they become world class at doing the wrong thing. And whether that's giving radiation and chemotherapy, which might not be the best treatment for cancer, but they become world class at doing that. And it's really changing the paradigm right now because, again, you have to be hiding under a rock to not see that stuff is shifting towards more of a focus on nutrition, which there's a whole category of science now called nutrigenomics, and looking at how even every single bite of food that you eat affects your genes, your genetic expression, should I say. It's that powerful. That's how powerful food is. That's how powerful our lifestyle is in affecting the way that we look, feel, and any disease expression that might happen. So integrative medicine is a growing field, functional medicine, and then obviously naturopathic medicine as well has kind of been around for a long time. So yeah, things are changing rapidly as the information is changing.
Yeah, and I think that's great because I think, we grew up in a system that is kind of broken, but I like to see with, podcasting now and other means of technology where these other, non-traditional means are getting out there in the open in the mainstream media, and your average person is now learning about it, and now they can go to their doctor and ask about these things, right? So I feel like the more educated the majority of the population is, the better off we all will be if we can see it, become more prevalent in today's society, which I think is, people like you are pioneering, and other, podcasters and other people in this field are starting to start that trend, and I think it's moving in the right direction. Now, shifting gears a little bit here, Shawn, one of the things I love about you is that you are a self-experimenter. And kind of like me, how I did a self-experimentation with Fit to Fat to Fit, which we all know was crazy, a little bit risky, but I learned a lot from it, right? I'm not saying it was stupid, but there's a lot of benefits to experimenting on yourself. And for you, I know a lot about you, but not everybody does. You've done veganism. You were vegan for years. You've experimented with ketosis, the ketogenic diet. You've experimented with intermittent fasting, maybe a little bit of paleo. Like, you've done experiments on your body of what seems to work. After having that experience and all that knowledge, how do you, and this, I know that different things work for different people, how have you found the best way for you to eat, and how would you categorize that if you had to take, a blend of maybe this or that? Like, how would you describe how you eat in a nutshell to those after having, learned from the past of doing veganism and ketosis and intermittent fasting and other, quote unquote diets?
What it really boils down to for me, and something that I want to try, no, there is no try, something that I'm promoting is actually listening to your body, as crazy as it sounds. As crazy and fringe as it sounds, listening to your body, because ultimately it doesn't matter what this fancy pants guru says over here, or this world-renowned whoever says over here. One person's poison can be another person's panacea, and vice versa. The best thing for you could totally mess somebody else up. And it really depends on where you are in your life right now, your unique genes, your nutrient profile, what your hormones are doing, what your sleep looks like, what your lifestyle, all of these things, your exercise, that is what's going to drive the type of nutrition that you need to bring in. Can somebody be successful on a vegan diet? Sure. Can somebody be successful on a ketogenic diet? Absolutely. But we've got to understand that certain things have a historical record, and our ancestors really paved the way for us to figure this stuff out faster, because humans have tried to eat everything, from, random berries, poisonous mushrooms to poop,
Oh, wow.
Tasty.
And I just saw, the other day too, well, I haven't had cable in years, but so we had cable on as that show, Man
Oh,
vs.
yeah.
Wild.
I
that
love
show
Bear.
with Bear Grylls.
Yeah.
Right. So Bear, he just I'm just watching. I'm just like, this is so unnecessary. And there's one, he took Will Ferrell out on I don't know if did you see that one?
Yeah.
Crazy, right? But so there's this one episode though, he was like tracking something, and then he came across some bear poop. And he was like, well, we gotta eat. So he picks up the bear poop and looks around in there, and he finds something, I think it's like some undigested berry or something. He's eating it, and he's like, yeah, that tastes like poop. I was like, this is poop.
It's because it's poop. He's like, yep, poop tastes like poop.
Yeah.
All right.
It's really important to understand that humans have tried to eat everything, but there's a historical record, and there are certain things that have even allowed our brains to evolve the way that they have. And that diet is generally a lower carbohydrate diet compared to what most people are consuming. Not in all areas of the world, because South America, it's going to be a higher ratio of carbohydrates. But generally, that nutrition profile or that macronutrient ratio is going to be radically different from what we're consuming today. And I got to say this thing, which is vegan diet. That hasn't been seen anywhere in human history, really, until today. It's an experiment, and it's an admirable experiment, but it might not end in the best results for every person. For some people, it might be fantastic. There's been vegetarian cultures, long-lived vegetarian cultures are found in many societies in India, for example, but they were getting their kind of liquid animal food via milk. Thus, in some cultures, the cow is even sacred, and they understand that there's some really powerful nutrients that are coming, in particular in the colostrum from the bovine animal. And so there's this kind of husbandry and relationship. But today we can just kind of pick, there's this new diet. Oh, Beyonce's doing the eat only purple vegetable diet, so people
And who doesn't want to look like Beyonce,
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so it's really been shifted because we're doing stuff off of a perceived reality instead of what is actual reality. And so I really want to encourage people to listen to their body. And for me, what I do today, I found that eating a higher percentage of raw foods is really beneficial for me. So I eat a nice chunk of raw foods because I did a time period, and I've only shared this a couple of times, but I ate only raw foods for about 3 years. And I'm not talking about raw meat. I know, crazy, right?
Yeah. I mean, were you significantly depressed not having bacon, or how did that go?
It didn't go well, No, at first it was fantastic, because of going from where I came from and having that level of clarity. And it's basically like being on an extended cleanse. And people know, I'm sure a lot of people have done different cleanses, and you feel really good afterwards. So I just kind of lived in that for a while. But eventually, so eating raw vegan nutrition, one important thing that you're probably going to be missing out on, crazy as this sounds, is cholesterol. And cholesterol is actually the building block, or kind of like the seed for building your sex hormones. So no wonder my testosterone went down, and I was having trouble just getting out of bed. And I'm a naturally early riser, aggressive kind of personality, and I just couldn't get it together, And I would supplement that, and I would feel better if I exercised, falsely spiking cortisol, boosting testosterone, but then it would tank every single day. And it wasn't until I started adding in a few free range eggs and things like that, that it really like just kicked everything back on for me. So I eat, I love the framework of paleo. I don't label myself as paleo. I just saw this interesting term today, which is a pegan, which is a paleo vegan. Right? I've never heard that before, but people are combining things and finding out what works for you. My big thing that I want people to walk away with is not creating religiosity around your food and not being dogmatic, because that just creates separation with us. We want to encourage people to eat healthier and to do better, whatever it is for them. You know, if you're a vegetarian and you want to encourage more people to take on that lifestyle, you're going to get a lot more buy-in by you representing it and you showing people what healthy vegetarianism can look like, and being a kind, encouraging human being. And if somebody's at a stage where, you know, they're eating grass-fed meat instead of factory farmed meat, you know, where it's just a ridiculous amount of disease and death happening, you know, give them credit for that, where they are, you know, and like relate to them on that step that they've taken. You know, that's what I really feel. I want people to walk away understanding that whatever it is that you choose to do, we don't want to be religious and dogmatic about it. You want to be come to people with open arms and show them with your example, when it can work.
Oh, that's a great point. Super powerful.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I was just laughing because when you said, you know, I want people to do what their body wants, I like gave this knowing smile over to Drew, because of course nobody can see us. And then he tried to kick me and he laughed because he knows that's exactly what
my body's telling me I need a donut. I need a donut. Okay, I gotta listen to my body.
Well, that's true. But he's taken it to the extreme. But no, it's been interesting. Like what I've been doing the last 6 months is I wake up every morning and I, of course, do my meditation and my positive affirmations. And then I ask my body, I ask myself, how do I want to move today? You know, I don't do any sort of continual structured exercise where I'm I have to go to the gym and do this today, or I have to do this type of exercise today. I ask my body, and my body kind of guides me in what it wants to do to move. And I do the same thing with nutrition. You know, some days you might see me eat something that's considered paleo style. And then other days, you might see me be eating a donut and, you know, some chocolate or something. I literally just listen to my body every day. And I do focus, of course, on giving my body the nutrients that it needs. And I know that people would say, oh, well, if you ate everything that you craved, you'd never eat healthy. But the truth is as you learn to love your body and serve your body, you really will be guided towards healthier foods overall. And of course, you still will indulge here and there. But it's been interesting because I don't track calories. I really do kind of just eat whatever my body's guided to do. And I haven't gained any weight, which to me was mind-boggling, because I'm if I stop doing structured workouts and if I stop eating so rigorously and counting my calories and counting my macros, I'm going to gain weight. And it hasn't happened, you know? So I think there's a lot of power to be said that everyone's body is different and you can still be healthy. And my health has improved too, but you could still be healthy by, you know, just listening to your body and just trying to be, you know, healthy, but not so strict and, like you said, dogmatic and religious about having to do a certain thing a certain way.
Yeah, because honestly, I see this a lot in the industry, being in the fitness industry and being on social media, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. You see a lot of demonizing. Oh, you're eating something that has gluten in it, you're a bad person, or how could you feed your kid that, or this or that? And there's a lot of judging, and it is almost like a religion. You see that among religions today, people judging each other for this or that. And you see it in the diet industry, which is really strange to me, but it exists. So I kind of want to ask you, Shawn, you being a dad, you have a teenager, you have a younger son. How do you deal with not being so strict and passing it on to your kids, because you know what's healthy for them. You want to be in control of what they eat, but a teenager, no matter who you are, does not want to listen to you, right? I mean, for the most part. So how do you avoid those fights and those moments where you're just you better eat your vegetables or you're grounded, or, you know, you better, why did you eat pizza today? What's wrong with you? How do you find that happy balance so that your kids have a good relationship with food as they grow up? I'm curious how you approach it.
First of all, I just want to acknowledge Lynn, because that was epic, that statement. And she's a very evolved human being, you know, to be able to live like that.
I love you even more now, Shawn.
And, you know, that's what we want to strive for. But the reality is this, is that, there is some initial buy-in. Some things you do have to pay to play. And I'm sure you guys have done this done weird stuff, drinking wheatgrass shots and, whatever, like stuff that you didn't enjoy. But to get yourself to a place of health and balance and cleanliness is really paramount in our society today if you haven't been there. So initially, there's going to be some stuff. There's going to be some stuff you're going to struggle with. But once you get yourself to a place of balance, listening to your body is going to be the best cue, because it's going to keep you mentally sane as well as physically healthy. So I just want to acknowledge you for that. But with the kids, I've got a 14-year-old, I have a 19-year-old who's in college, and I have a 4-year-old. So this big variance. And my teenager, I'm sorry, he's not 14, he's 15. He would be mad if I said that he was 14. So with him, what's so interesting is that my kids were eating better than I was when my health was messed up, because so when I was like, I had two small kids when I was going through this process, around 20, 21, 22 years old. I had kids early. So they were already getting things better than me. But of course, as they get older and they start to have fast food and pizza and, all this processed stuff, they're going to acquire a taste for it. And what's really been most helpful is, number one, and this is huge, guys, is just you have to do it yourself. You be it yourself. My kids are going to eat what I'm eating. So if I want them to be healthy, I'm not going to be bringing bags of takeout and fast food into the house every night, or constantly ordering pizzas. I used to do that because I was asleep, and now there's no way I would do that to myself as well as my children, and this is kind of that analogy of putting your own mask on first. I got to take care of me. So once you're taking care of yourself, you're not going to subject your kids to that stuff. And the other thing is, like, if you're trying to make a change now and your kids you're afraid they won't be on board, you're the parent. Like, it's very simple. If they want to eat, they're going to eat what food we have. It's really that simple. And it's just like putting on your big boy pants or your big girl pants and saying, I'm the mom or dad, and my kid isn't going to dictate what we bring into the house and what we're eating as a family. So that's number one, foundational thing. Number two, my son, my 15-year-old son, as he just walked in from school just now, he's really motivated by achieving goals himself, especially when you get to high school and, you want to play sports, or you're wanting to compete, you're wanting to just be the best person you can be. Or for other people, it's finding out an angle with your kid. So maybe your kid is not into sports. Maybe they're a mathlete.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe they're like killing it at the spelling bees or whatever, And so it's just like, what? Here's these studies showing that your memory is going to be improved by such and such % by eating propolis or bee pollen or whatever it is, like finding an angle to help your kid if you think that they're not going to be on board. Because it's all like, especially with a teenager, it's like they've got their own reality and their own goals. You want to help to affirm and support that. So that's what I do. And then with the 4-year-old, it's just very simple. If my little guy wants to eat, he's going to eat what we have.
This is what you eat. Yeah. Yeah. We do that with our kids too. I mean, like you said, like they'll eat what you give them. And of course, like if we gave our kids pizza every day, they'd love to eat it. And do they eat pizza sometimes? Yeah. I mean, they have pizza every once in a while. But for the most part, like people that see my kids eat, a lot of times they're like, that's it? Like that's what you're feeding them? Because it's not always even fancy. A lot of times it's raw vegetables like broccoli and carrots and bell peppers and then some fruit and then some nuts like cashews or pumpkin seeds. And then there's some type of lean meat or eggs or something like that. People are like, that's not really a meal. And it's like,
where's the cheese and bread?
Right. But, it's like they're going to eat what you give them. My kids eat that almost every night, without complaint, because that's what they're used to,
Yeah. And I think you made a good point, Shawn, in that if you look at your childhood and how you grew up, like I know for us, coming from a family of 11 kids, it was, it wasn't about being healthy. It was like, what do we have to eat today? Like, what are you going to feed us, Mom? To feed 11 mouths is really difficult to do. And then my parents didn't have the knowledge, right? So if I compare my childhood to where my kids are at, they're in such a better position, right, with the knowledge that I'm passing down to them. even if they don't eat perfectly all the time, or they go to school and they have, or a friend's house and they have this or that, or grandma's in town and she makes some cookies, like they're already at a better starting point than where I was as a kid. So that's a great way to look at it. And I like the other thing you said about teenagers. When they get to the age, they have certain goals of wanting to be good at this or good at that, and you can use that to show them how nutrition and exercise can help benefit them in whatever it is, whether it's sports, or whether it's math or school and other areas. So like basically what I'm saying is like you said is that you can show them how nutrition can benefit them no matter what their goals are. And I think that's great advice for people that have teenagers out there.
Yeah, it's creating a why for them. We talk about that a lot in the fitness industry, like when people are trying to become healthier. For someone like Sean, it might have been obviously his health and like his medical condition. And for, a lot of people, they have different reasons, whether it's to be healthier for their kids or to cure a disease or just have a better way of life. And then, of course, like, why not obviously give a reason and help your child and your teenager specifically have a why of why they want to, live healthier lives and make better choices. So I love that.
Okay.
And I mean, I know Drew and I are giving each other look like we've been on the phone with Sean forever.
We've
gone way over,
you have to write books and you got to do some more singing, Instagram videos. I know you got a lot to get to.
Well, we could just, we didn't even get throughout we're going to have him on again.
Well, we are going to have you on again, Sean, because I know that your book is coming out soon, March of 2016. Am I right?
That's right, man.
Okay, awesome. So we will have you back on before that to launch your book. But we want to get to the important part of this episode, which is the lightning round.
He's a joke.
Just kidding. We know all
my favorite part.
Double Jeopardy.
Double Jeopardy, yes. Because we've already been through this with Sean, but we got some new questions for you, I think. So,
well, actually, right before we start the lightning round, though, let everybody know how they can find you, like on social media or your website. Tell everyone how they can find you, and we'll put it in the show notes, too.
Awesome. Well, if people are listening to this podcast, then obviously they listen to podcasts. So people can find me at my show is called The Model Health Show. And currently right now we're on the homepage of iTunes, which is crazy. The show is doing phenomenally well. We just crossed over 3 million listener downloads and shooting quickly towards 4 million. And my show is really dedicated to being the definitive guide on whatever the subject matter is. So if we're talking about reversing type 2 diabetes, you're going to learn everything I know and then some, because I might be bringing on another expert to talk about the subject matter. High cholesterol, heart disease, depression, cancer treatments, and then, some more, I guess, sunshiny, fun topics as well, but we have a great time and we make sure that everybody walks away with a lot of value there. So people can check that out on iTunes or Stitcher, or you can go to my website, themodelhealthshow.com, and you can check it out there. And we also do videos for the show too. And on social media, and I told Drew this already, I know I'm late to the game on Instagram, but I'm there and sharing some really cool stuff. I'm at Shawn Model, so ShawnModel, and the same thing on Twitter. On Facebook, it's /The Shawn Model, and that's where people can connect with me.
Awesome. We'll put that in the show notes for you guys. Go to Instagram and watch that clip of him singing. It's really good. It's really good.
All right.
All right.
Are you ready for this, Sean? Let's do this really quick.
For those that don't know, and everyone should know by now, we obviously finish the episodes with random, pointless questions that probably don't matter to anyone but me. It's the part I enjoy the most because it always catches people off guard, and they always say stuff that usually later they're like, why did I say that? I'm like, exactly. It's exactly what I wanted to know. So, all right. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. If you had to survive, you're probably going to give us a scientific answer. Okay, take out all reasoning behind the actual point of living. If you could only eat one thing every day for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Sweet potatoes.
Sweet potatoes. That's a good one. Sweet potatoes with like sugar and stuff
like
on
raw
top.
Sweet potatoes or sweet potato pie?
Or like baked sweet potatoes with marshmallows, or just sweet potatoes because you could do so much with them.
Yeah, I mean, we could make sweet potato fries. We could just bake the sweet potato. We could make sweet potato pie, which I guess the sweet potato would have to be the crust and the filling since I can only have sweet potato. But yeah, whatever way.
Okay, I like it. All right. What's your most embarrassing moment?
Oh my God.
Or at least the one that comes to mind, an embarrassing moment.
The first one.
Okay, I'm really thinking whatever's gonna pop in my mind, I'm gonna say it.
All right, do it.
Oh man, nothing is popping in my head.
Is it because you don't get embarrassed, or is it because you really can't think?
I
of
mean,
the
I
time
just
you've been
face it. Like
embarrassed?
I just posted a video of me singing on Instagram. You know
Yeah,
what
but
I'm
you're a
saying?
good singer. No,
But
like
you
an
have a good
embarrassing
voice, man.
moment
You
is
have a good
like,
voice, so-
Who
oh,
knows that? Nobody. I haven't.
an
been in
embarrassing
a-
moment is it's embarrassing moments like, oh, you know, when I first met my now wife, I was on a date with her. We were in the car. I really had to fart, but I wasn't sure. But I like just in case I did, but then it was really smelly and she looked at me really weird. Like that's embarrassing. We need something like that. Did that
Okay,
happen?
well, first of all, I'm not in a boy band. You know, like I've never had an experience with singing like publicly like that. You know, so
Okay.
that was pretty. It was. I guess it was embarrassing at first, but then it's just like, nah, whatever. You know. So, but something that I can think of on your prompting is, oh man. I mean, it's really. I don't think it's that big of a deal. But my first speaking event that I ever did. It was a huge whopping audience of 3 people. And I was so nervous and fumbling. I was sweating. And I'm not a sweater, you know, like, dang, that's crazy. I'm not a sweater. Never mind. But
I'm glad you're not a sweater.
bro.
You're
We
a
know
human
you're
being.
a human being. We know you're a human being.
Bull. So, but I was sweating and I was so nervous and just fumbling my words. And I just really had a hard time communicating. And at the end of it, I mean, everything kind of turned out well. But I mean, I was just super embarrassed to stand up there in front of people and talk. But, you know, that's transitioned into like speaking on stage in front of 5,000 people at one time. And, you know, it's a good
Dang.
end to that story. But if there was something more embarrassing, I know there's something, it's just not popping into my mind.
That's good.
We need to
'cause,
ask
like,
your
all of my
wife.
embarrassing stuff is like right at the top of forefront.
Yeah.
Like if someone asked me, it would be like hard for me to. It would be hard for me to actually just pick one. And I've
Yeah.
shared a few with people, and they're like, they're probably not that bad. And every embarrassing story I've showed people, they're like, oh my gosh, that's awful. I'm
Yeah.
like, wow, really? Okay.
We'll have to ask your wife that question the next
Yeah.
time you come on. We'll ask her.
Yeah.
Awesome. And I want to
Okay.
hear Lynn's stuff now. My God.
Oh, I mean,
She's
it's
got a
pretty
lot.
bad.
You could do a whole episode on
We
her
could do a
most
whole
embarrassing
episode on all my
moments.
embarrassing moments.
Okay.
I mean, be pretty crass though. Okay.
Next question, Sean. Do for us your best Ben Stiller impersonation
Oh, man. Oh.
from any movie.
Okay, here we go. Okay,
Here we go.
Here we go. I got it.
Okay.
I got
Okay.
it. No one makes me bleed my own blood.
Actually, really good.
Actually, it was really good. You sound like White Goodman.
You did. Is it better because your voice is like butter? But
Yeah,
you know,
you did
close,
awesome.
Oh,
close.
man, thank you.
Okay, what's your favorite cheat meal?
I called it a treat meal, bro, not a cheat meal.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Touche.
But maybe at least every other Saturday after doing a great workout with either my wife and or my son, having those gluten-free pancakes.
Okay.
Back at the house, you know, so we use I mean, you know, we can make these using different flours and whatnot, you know, coconut flour and stuff like that, but we just use a basic gluten-free pancake mix, and I'll throw some hemp protein into it, some ground flax seeds to give it a little bit more benefit, but they're still pancakes, you know, so that's my favorite.
That is the most healthy response I've ever heard for a treat meal. I mean, the pancake part, I was like, oh, okay. And then he was like, but then I like to throw in some superfood chia seeds with some hemp protein to really
only after a heavy
fortify the
lifting day.
nutrients
Only
in
after.
those pancakes. Okay.
Dude.
Okay.
Okay. Then the next one isn't really a question; it's a request. So you did what you did on Instagram. You saying, "We're asking you right here, right now, on the spot, on the Fit to Fat to Fit Experience podcast, to do your
do
10-second blip of you singing." And you have a mic right in front of you. You probably have this pop stopper thing, and we know you got your headphones on.
Oh, man.
So give us your best right now.
Bro, you have no chill. You have no chill, bro. Oh my goodness.
You've
I'll
already
have
done
you
it
know,
once,
Sean,
man.
I'll
You've
have
already
you know, Sean, if you don't like this request, it was only from Drew. It wasn't from me. I like it, but it wasn't from me.
I'm gonna lose double jeopardy on this one, man. Like, there's no way I could do that right now. I'm smiling ridiculously hard. Like, This is an embarrassing moment. Thank you.
We can give you. I know. We can create your most embarrassing moment right now.
My nose is running, but it's not. I'm all hot. No, man, I can't do it.
Okay, we almost created your most embarrassing moment, but we'll have to wait for another day.
It shows even you, every person, we still have stuff to work through.
Yes.
Even an amazing singer. You're such a good singer. I'm surprised. I thought maybe you'd like start into some crazy like original song you wrote and be like, well, since you asked, I wrote this one just last night. But yeah.
Okay, last question.
Last question
I ask everybody. Would you ever do Fit to Fat to Fit on purpose?
Oh, man.
You did it already once on not on purpose, but on accident. You kind of, Sean Fluffy Combs. Would you ever do it on purpose to gain a better understanding?
You know what? I got you in my life, man, so absolutely not.
Good answer.
No way, Jose. No way.
Yeah. I don't blame you by any means. Majority of people that come on the podcast say the same thing. Although they do hesitate. They're like, wait a second. I could eat whatever I want to for 6 months. And then they're like, no, I couldn't do it. So you're among many others that said no. And I don't blame you. So don't worry about it. And yes, you can always just use my example if you need to. So anyway, Sean, we've gone way over our time here. We've had so much fun with you. We're going to have so much more fun with you in the future. We'll bring you back on in March for the launch of your new book. But thank you so much for joining us here on the Fit to Fat to Fit Experience podcast. It's always been a pleasure. And so thank you so much.
Hey, it's my pleasure, guys. I love you guys. Thanks so much for having me on. And yeah, I can't wait to do it again.
Okay. Happy holidays, man.
Same to you guys. Bye.
Bye.
See ya. Thank you guys so much for listening to today's episode with Shawn Stevenson. We really hope that you found some beneficial information from this episode that you can take away and apply in your life and really try your best to maintain a healthy lifestyle and continually upgrading your knowledge. And so we really, really appreciate you guys supporting our podcast. You can actually help us by donating to our podcast now. We have a donate link on our website, fit2fat2fit.com/podcast. And we really appreciate you guys sharing the news with your friends and family. So please subscribe on iTunes. Please leave us a review. And if you like an episode, it's so easy to share now with social media. We really appreciate that.
Yeah, and let us know if there's any topics that you want us to discuss or any people that you want us to have on the podcast. We want to make this about you, about improving your knowledge about health and wellness so that you can become the healthiest version of you. And so any topics that you want us to discuss, diets you want us to look into, people you want on the show, make sure to comment or reach out to us on social media or on our website to let us know.
Yep, thank you guys so much. So our websites are fit2fat2fit.com.
And my website is the number 2 fitathome.com, and my handle for all my social media outlets is at 2fitathome.
And all of mine are at fit2fat2fit. To stay in the know, you guys, we have some big announcements coming up. So stay in touch and have a great day.